Today's episode is sponsored by Glasses Direct, a personal favourite of mine for all my specs, as they offer a huge quality range for all budgets and occasions, delivered straight to your front door with a 120-day free returns policy. And just by listening to this episode, I'm giving you 50% off frames, plus a free second pair and free delivery. Use code MOVE50. Code is valid until the 31st of August 2025. Hello and welcome to the Mummy Movement with me, Sam Sardette. Today I have super mama of four and the original mummy influencer, Chloe Lauren.
Oh, thanks. What an introduction. Thank you.
Chloe Lauren, what is your actual name then? Because obviously everyone probably calls you Chloe Lauren based off your Instagram.
Everyone will refer to me as Chloe Lauren, but Lauren is actually my middle name. So it is actually Holland, Chloe Holland. But I feel like Chloe Lauren's just kind of stuck now, and it's just easier to go with that. Yeah. And even my management sort of said, like, let's just keep you as Chloe Lauren. It's just easier.
That's almost like your trademark now, isn't it? Like, because that's your Instagram name. Everyone knows you as Chloe
but I
Lauren.
do that like with other people's names. Like, they'll have like a random name on Instagram, and I call them that. They're like, so and so, like. But
well, I get that.
Their name.
I'm like the mummy motivator.
Exactly.
Like, and it's like, I have a name as well. So many times I have thought about changing it, and I'm just like, no, we'll stick with it. Because that's how they know you.
Exactly.
You are probably, well, for me, when I started my Instagram, you were like one of the original mum influencers. How did you, I mean, we will go into mum life, but I think what people know you is from Instagram. How did you start your Instagram? Was it because you became a mum, or did you already have your page? Like, how was it by accident? How did it all come about, your page?
It started when I became a mum, and it's funny, and I also don't think of myself as this like OG Insta mum at all. But I remember actually saying to one of my friends, and this was before I even had the kids, then I was kind of like, I would love to be like a influencer, like post stuff on social media and stuff. And she was like, I think you'd be really good at it, you should go for it. But you never think it will actually happen. It's just one of those things that you kind of say like, I would love to do that. And I did used to always post on Instagram, but I had probably like 200 friends. It's just like
every
a normal
day
account. And obviously it never went anywhere, and that was it. And I never expected it, although I really wanted it to happen, like I never expected it to happen from being a mum. Yeah. But I just started posting.
How long ago was that? How old?
So the twins, who are the eldest, they're 7 now. They were 7 in February. So I kind of started posting more when I was pregnant, and started to like hashtag twins and stuff. And I had already started following some twin mums who had like quite big accounts on Instagram. And this was even before I think I found out I was having twins. And when I think about it now, I'm like, it's a bit weird that I was following these pages. Yeah. And it's weird because I then became friends with them like through the Instagram world. And I feel like that's happened with so many people that I followed who I really looked up to. Wow. Like, wow, they've got these huge accounts, and I love this type thing. And then you all become friends, and you all become part of the same circle. It's so mad, like how small the world actually is. And
it's hard. I feel like 7 years ago though, like Instagram's changed so much then.
So much.
And so I can imagine it's like you don't actually, when you do start posting, back then it's like you said, just hashtag whatever. Yeah. You don't actually realise like what it's going to turn into, because I think back then it was like more just casual, wasn't it? Could you even, I think back then I don't think anyone even knew as well you could make it a career or anything like that. Like, did you just start it just like?
I started, and it was when I then had the twins, they were, Hallie especially was really poorly, like when I had them. So Hallie was born with gastroschisis, so basically all of her intestines grew outside of her body instead of inside her body. And we always knew from the very first scan at 12 weeks when they were like, you're having twins. It was also like, she has this condition, and this is how things are going to be for her.
Oh, wow.
So we always knew as soon as she was born, she would go straight to Great Ormond Street, and we never knew how long she would be there for.
I bet that was scary.
It was, but I think because we knew there was a plan, I think it's much harder if these, you sort of have your baby and then Whereas we knew,
Yeah,
so we were prepared from the very first scan.
Yeah,
we knew.
Right.
And so we always knew what was happening. But when I had the twins, I had to have them in the hospital which is closest to Great Ormond Street.
Yeah.
In London. Hallie went straight off into the ambulance to Great Ormond Street. Sienna stayed at the hospital where I had them. And for ages, they were both in hospital because they were born early. Hallie had a lot more conditions going on at Great Ormond Street. But I had all this time on my hands because, you know, I wasn't taking my babies home. And every time I would sort of ask, you know, like roughly, you know, how long do you think she'll be here? Like weeks, months, years, like, and they just had no idea. So I was just like, this is kind of my life right now.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of documenting it on Instagram because I had the time. I was just in hospital by myself every day. I would just walk between the two hospitals.
I suppose as well, I think a lot of us do, especially when we're first time. And obviously that must have been a scary moment. It's like, you know, or just like a time where it's kind of like, what do I do? It's like you turn to Instagram to see, okay, has anyone else been through this?
Yeah.
And is this normal, or how did you get through it? And it's almost like a lot of us have gone as mums for support as a mum. Yeah.
100%. I felt like I was really slowly growing this little like community of like-minded mums. I feel like a lot of people who followed me right from the beginning had babies at the same sort of time.
Yeah.
So you were just like bouncing off of each other. I was speaking to people who'd had the same like conditions that she had or that had twins and getting this advice, and then I would share it on for other people to like, you know, hear that advice as well.
Yeah.
So it was almost like a bit of like therapy.
Yeah.
This little diary, and it just started growing from there. And I remember then thinking, I just want to get to 10k.
Yeah.
10,000 followers, and you can do like swipe ups and stuff.
Yeah,
and that's all
do you
I wanted
remember
was
that?
to get
Yeah.
to 10,000.
Yeah.
And I think I'd got to like 2, and I was like, oh God, I can't believe this. And you know,
Yeah.
the goal, which I thought was going to take so long, just want to get to 10,000.
Yeah.
But that's how it started.
Amazing. So I suppose I mean, you obviously turned to Instagram because you went through that time, and it was, you know, like a lot of mums, you go on Instagram to find like-minded mums and just to think, you know, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
So obviously going back now to mum life, baby life, did you plan the twins? Did you plan, like, did you always know you wanted to be a mum? Like, what was your journey with your first initial girls, basically? Like, did you plan for them, or?
Yeah, we did plan for them. So we were married the year before I got pregnant. Yeah. So we were married in 2016. And then I feel like at the time it was just like the next thing to do is to have a baby type thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's not really like that as much now. But I feel like then, like I've been married, next year will be 10 years that we've been married. I feel like then it was very much like you buy a house, you get married, and you have a baby.
How long were you together with your husband now?
We've been together for 15 years now. So we were together for, say, 6. Is that right?
Right.
6. Then we got married. Yeah. 15 years.
Yeah. Don't ask me. I wouldn't. But this is the thing that I do find, though, if you've been together from like your early 20s or you're quite young, that's why it tends to happen. To be fair, it's different nowadays because people tend to get together later on in life.
Yeah.
But the thing of getting married and having kids, I think is still the same. I just think it's like more common when we were young. Well, I say we're younger. We're still young.
Yeah.
But in our 20s, it was more common that we met our partners in our 20s.
Yeah.
And, you know, because obviously it wasn't as much social media then as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I was 20 when I met Ben, and like 26 when I got married. And when I think about it now, I'm like, 26, that's a baby.
I know. Isn't it?
But I felt so old. I was
yes.
like, oh God.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
so you had did you feel pregnant quite quickly, or?
It took, I think it took about 8 months.
Okay.
Which
That's.
it felt like a really long time, but you know, compared to other people, it's not that long. And I went to a girls' school, and we were pretty much taught like, you have unprotected sex, you will fall pregnant. And that was like drummed into me.
Yeah.
And I never knew anything really about like ovulation and all this kind of stuff, because I just thought, well, you'll do it that one time and you'll have a baby. And obviously it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
And every month I'd have this like, I would convince myself every month, like, yeah, definitely pregnant. And obviously I wasn't.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I think it was all just part of the plan, because there was a lot going on at the time. Like Ben turned 30, we had lots of weddings like abroad and stuff like that, and I think about it now and it wouldn't have been the same if I had been pregnant. So yeah, it took a little while.
Because you were just having sex here, there and everywhere.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's what it is though. That's what you are taught that, aren't you? And when you're younger, you're like, oh my God, like, but you actually, there's literally only like, what, a few days of the month.
Yeah, I was so naive.
But you don't realise. Yeah. So how did you feel when you knew you was going to have twins? First time.
It was honestly my dream. Like, I just kept thinking about, because I never had any like private scans, never had any early scans. Waited for the 12th week, and I kept thinking to myself, and I'm a big believer, and since this, it's like proved things to me of like visualization and stuff like that, that I'd keep picturing like, oh, imagine if they say it's twins, imagine if they say it's identical twins. And I followed, you probably know her, Jade, who has Jensen and Rocco, and I had always followed her, and I was like, oh God, I just love these little twins. I would love to have identical twins. But I kept saying to myself, like, no, you need to remind yourself to be grateful to even see one heartbeat. Yeah. Even walking into the scan, I remember thinking, oh, imagine if they do. And, they did. They said, they were like, is this definitely your first scan? I was like, yeah, I haven't had any. They were like, well, okay, then I'm the one to tell you that you're having twins. And I was just like, are they identical? Are they identical? And they were like, yeah, they are.
So it's almost like you manifested it.
Yeah, I do believe that I did.
Yeah. That is crazy. So you had your girls, and it was a bit of a, I mean, I think twins, they always say, don't they, that it's a bit more of a high risk.
Yeah,
birth,
especially identical ones, because then they share the placenta.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas non-identical have like their own sac and their own placentas.
Okay.
They're just basically like siblings born on the same day. Whereas identical twins is the one egg that's split. So then they share the placenta and they're inside like the one sac together.
Wow. So how long were you in the hospital for then? Like, did you have a C-section with them?
So because Hallie needed surgery as soon as she was born, it was always planned that I would have a C-section at 36 and a half weeks. It was booked in to have them at the UCLH. The ambulance was already booked to like take Hallie straight there with the surgeons ready to do her operation. Like, everything was booked.
Okay,
but I went into labour like 10 days before.
Oh my God.
And I worked right up to, I was like, I don't need any time off. I'd rather have more time off afterwards. Yeah. So I worked up as like much as I could, and I thought I'll have like a week before my date.
What did you do before?
I was an orthodontic therapist, so
no
I used to
way.
fit braces. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Loved it. Yeah. Honestly loved it.
Yeah.
And thought that's what I would always do.
Yeah.
So I worked right up to, I thought I'll give myself a week. Obviously, I never had a week of maternity before because I went into labour early and had them. So everything that was planned didn't
went out the window.
Yeah, because I went into labour early.
Oh my God, I bet that was scary though, like, because you wanted to make sure. So wait, did they still give you a C-section, or did you have an actual birth for them?
No, I did still have a C-section, but like only just. So I didn't realise I was in labour. I had been having these pains, but I was like, I don't really know what it is. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah. And as the night went on, it was like a Sunday night. Ben was like, he said I was like I feel like it's a blur for me, but he was like, you was like on all fours on the floor, like rocking. And I had been making him watch, what was it called? They don't really show it anymore. One Born Every Minute? Is that what it's called? Oh my God, yeah. I made him watch so many episodes and he was like, you look like the people who were on that programme. And I was like, no, I think I'm fine. I think
Braxton Hicks.
Yeah, and I was like, I think it's just been where I've been wearing like really tight jeans. I used to still wear my jeans, but just with like the hairband, or just have the zip like undone with this massive twin belly. I was like, I think it's just where I've been forcing myself still into my jeans. I'll be fine. Yeah. He was like, I think we should go to the hospital just in case. Yeah. And I just wasn't like, no, I just don't know. I just thought, no, we're fine.
Because in your head, all this time, you've been like, no, like,
I just didn't think that they were going to come, and I just thought, oh, I don't know what I thought. Yeah. But luckily he did actually drive us to the London hospital and not just like our local hospital. But I didn't take anything. We didn't take the bags in. We didn't take anything. And
well, he had an instinct though.
He did. Yeah. I thought, I'm just going to go in. They're going to check me. I was like, I'm starving. I just want to go to McDonald's. Like, we just, you know. But he said that I walked to the toilet and that I was like holding onto the wall, like walking down, and he said the receptionists were like, she's in labour. And then
how did you not, like, did you not even, it didn't even come across your mind? Like,
I text my friend who had just had a baby like
right.
a few weeks
Oh,
before.
yeah, because it's your first. Yeah. So
and I was like,
yeah.
I'm having these pains. I was like, they're in my back. It was mainly my back. Like, I remember driving there, and I was like, it will come and it'll be like, I can't talk. And then all of a sudden it goes. And she was like, she says now, at the time, I didn't want to scare you and tell you, but she was like, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I had actually lost my like growth for like the plug like the day before. But when I'd Googled that, it was like, doesn't mean anything. It could still be like 6 weeks or whatever.
You were having contractions, basically.
I was having contractions, yeah. I was like 6 centimetres.
Oh my God.
And so they were
so
like...
you were just put like going off to the... I'm just going to the loo,
yeah,
babe,
because it would stop again. And then I'd be like, oh, I don't know. You know, it would like really tighten and contract. But I just didn't know. I do feel like I do have quite a strong pain threshold as well for things. And I was just like, oh no, I'll be fine. And then they said like, yeah, you're definitely in labour. But it was a Sunday night, so they were like, we don't have as many staff on. We're going to try and hold you off until tomorrow because we've got to have so much ready. Like with a C-section, I think you have to have a certain amount of people in the room per baby.
Oh, really?
They then needed the ambulance team ready. They needed the stuff at Great Ormond Street ready. So they're like, we're going to try and hold you off till tomorrow. But they were like, we can't. Like, you're just contracting so much and like dilating. So they scanned me because they said, basically what we're going to do is get you to give birth to the twin who's trying to come out naturally, and then we'll have to do a C-section to get the other one out. Oh, which this happens quite a lot, which I never even knew was a thing. Like you have to do both when it's twins.
But how do you select a twin to give birth to?
No, the one that's head is there and it is trying to, because a lot of time the other one isn't ready. It's still just like chilling.
Yeah, true,
or there can be like a big gap between. Because you can have twins that are born like it's gone past midnight now for the next one, and the next one's born into the next day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is so true. Because you don't ever think, you think they're both trying to come out at the same time.
Yeah, but no, they're not. It was Hallie who was trying to come out, because then they scanned me, could see that it was twin one who has the gastroschisis, and they were like, you can't give birth to her naturally because the intestines are obviously just everywhere floating inside me.
Oh my God.
And they were like, we don't want you to push her out. But if it was Sienna, I would have just given birth to Sienna, and then they would have just made a plan for Hallie probably like the next day. So I went straight down to theatre, as in straight down to theatre.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. So I had no time to... I didn't even think I was in labour.
It's probably a good thing, because...
I think it was a good thing.
Yeah, because you didn't have time to think about it, and it was just like... And I know, like, I think every mum can relate that when you go through labour, it's almost like you zone out.
Yeah.
And it's like a blur.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even remember half of it. So...
I mean, I've never given birth naturally, but that was like, I guess as far as I got.
So when you had the C-section, got Hallie out, did they get Sienna out at the same time then?
But Sienna was transverse, so she was literally lying like underneath my ribs, and I remember it felt like someone was on the bed, like karate chopping, like to get her out, because she was just so not ready. She was chill. You know, I was just 35 weeks on the dot. That day, because I had them then at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So I was 34 plus 6 when I was in labour, but had then gone through the night at this point. When I had them, so she just was not ready.
She was chilling. She was like, "Sis, come on." She was chilling,
whereas I think Hallie obviously just like fell out of my belly. Well, actually, I don't know if she had gone down. I don't know, but yeah, it was just so fast. Like, it's really cute. Ben, he'll always say that like in his eyes, that's when I looked the most beautiful. He was like, you were just sat there, because all of a sudden it was honestly so fast. They go through like all the risks and everything. He was like, there were so many people sticking so many pads to you, like trying to get the like injection in my back, like because they just didn't want me to keep dilating to get her out. You just don't have time to like process what's going on. Mental.
And you're just so vulnerable. Like, you're literally just like in the hands of like the doctors. You're like,
I just want my baby safe. You just got to do whatever you've got to do to me. Yeah,
of course you do. It's mad. So how long then did you have to wait till you could go home?
So I could go home the next day, like 24 hours after you have a C-section.
Which is
but
mad.
The girls obviously couldn't.
Yeah,
So Hallie went literally straight into the ambulance. I didn't really see her.
Yeah.
There's a photo of me like next to her, like ambulance, when she looks like she's in a little like rocket ship where they pack them all up to go into the ambulance. I don't really remember it.
Yeah.
I think they quickly wheeled me to her before she got actually into the ambulance, but they took her like straight away because they have to like cling film up all her like organs. And Ben went with her. Right, so for him it was like, right, you're a dad, you're now having to sign all these consent forms for your daughter to have all these operations and have all this stuff explained to you, like you're going in an ambulance with her. He was like,
and I feel like for a bloke, like they're not used to that. They're just like, what am I doing?
We obviously hadn't slept either because obviously I had them at like 1 o'clock in the morning, so it's still going, and we're just like, what the hell? We hadn't told any of our family that was even going to the hospital.
Because they will expect it the next week or so. Blimey.
So he went off and stayed with her. She then started to have her operations there. Sienna was in the NICU at the UCLH. She was there for 16 days. So she just needed a little bit of help because she was born early. And she could go home after like 2.5 weeks. But Hallie, in the end, she was there for 3 months. But at the time, because they just...
I bet that must have been hard though. Like, I feel like, but I know it's probably catch-22, isn't it? Because it's like they're in the best place they can be. Like, rather than it's like, you know, that they're prepared for that, and she's going to be.
I didn't know any different. So people always say that must be so hard, but I'm like, that was just my journey, my experience. I hadn't had a baby before, and being at Great Ormond Street, I feel like it was like, you know, a huge eye-opener for me, and I would see me there with my babies and I'd be like, I'm on maternity leave, I can be here, I can be next to my child all day. Whereas a lot of parents there, you know, I would see sick children everywhere in the hospital. It's not just babies, there's sick children everywhere, and you know, you see children with no hair, and you just think, what are you going through as a family? And you're not just on maternity, you're having to juggle still keeping the house going at home. I didn't have other children that I needed to worry about. I could literally be at the hospital bed and not have to worry about anything else or anyone else. Even the little baby opposite Hallie, this when she came down from like the intensive care and she went to high dependency, he was a twin as well, and I think his other twin was at home. And the mum had other children at home, you know, who they still needed to go to school, and you still need to continue normal life for the rest of them. And so bless him, he was on his own, you know, a lot of the time. But I was thinking, oh, that poor mum must feel awful. Who do I go and do? Because also the babies, you can't do anything for them. So she would just be sat there not doing anything. So yeah, I always feel grateful. I don't like to dwell on that periods in my life at all, and I'm like, if anything, the way that I look at like the positives of time that you spend in NICU is I got a full night's sleep every night when I just had a major operation. I wasn't
hands on deck.
I couldn't do anything for them. You can't do anything when they're just in the little incubators. Hallie wasn't even allowed to feed, so I couldn't even give her a bottle of milk. She could not have anything for 9 weeks, so which means she wouldn't need a nappy changing, she wouldn't need anything.
I love it,
you know.
So I love it.
All I could do was give her cuddles throughout the day, but even then they don't like you having them so much. So I got a full night's sleep every night. You know, I didn't have that full on responsibility. I had time to recover from my surgery before I went home, and I learned so much from the nurses, and they get them into such a good routine of like feeding when they can start feeding and changing and sleeping, and they learn as babies to like self-settle.
That is so true.
Because I'm not allowed to stay there at night time. I wasn't allowed to sleep on the ward or anything. So yeah, that's the positives that I take from it. Sorry, I feel like we've gone off onto like this massive thing.
I love that. It's such an incredible story as well. Like, I think a lot of people go through that, and like you said, it's scary, but then it's also, you know, that is the best place for them to be. But equally, as a new mum, it was probably beneficial for you because you got the help that you needed in those initial stages as well. But it wasn't soon after you got pregnant again.
That was not planned.
I was going to say, so you'd had these twins and then you fell pregnant again.
Yeah.
So what's the age gap?
So the age gap is 15 months.
Oh my
so
God.
we'd been home with the twins, like brought Hallie home for 3 months. And yeah, I found out I was pregnant.
What was your, I mean, yeah, it must have been a shock, but...
It was. Like, because, you know, it had taken this, say, like 8 months to fall pregnant with the twins. And I know you are, like, very fertile after having a baby. But it was like our first night out. We went to a wedding, went to our friend's wedding. There was a free bar. We had a great night.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, like, and I thought, no.
What are the chances,
like,
though?
No.
I mean, everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
And you were meant to, it's Lottie, is it?
Yeah.
You were meant to have Lottie. And I feel like, but what are the chances you're one night out? Because I was going to say, otherwise, that's the last thing on your mind. Yeah. But if you have a night out and the drinks are flowing, it's like, yeah, you need to let your hair down. If you're a fellow glasses wearer that's always on the search for some decent frames, then head to glassesdirect.co.uk, where you'll find a huge range of quality frames for all face shapes, whatever your budget or occasion, with 120-day free returns. You can't go wrong. So you then had Lottie. Do you feel like with the third, it was like, right, I know what I'm doing, like, or was it?
Yeah, and I guess from the moment I found out, like when I initially found out, I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Like, you know, this is so hard already. But I think having twins first, you've already learned, like, to split yourself. I've never had just one baby.
True,
I've never had one baby. So I've never been able to just give, like, I feel like that's why with Cruz now I'm, like, clinging on to him being a baby for so long, because it's the first time I've had just, like, one baby to concentrate my time on, and to just have a pram and, like, and not this constant juggle and, like, conveyor belt of nappies to do and stuff. So I already, you know, could juggle between the two. So, and I just, from the moment I found out, I was like, right, I've got, you know, however long it was till I was having her, to sort of get the twins doing as much as they can.
Yeah.
It was like time to just start weaning them. So I was like, right, you're doing baby-led weaning. I can't, you know, I need you to be doing as much as you can to help for when Lottie's here. And the twins have always been delayed, and Lottie just copied everything that they did. So it was almost like she was older than she was.
I bet. Well, I suppose people probably think they were triplets, like as they got older as well, like
especially as we got older. Yeah. Lottie could only have the hand-me-down clothes until she was probably about 1, and then then she's been in the exact same size. Even now, she's probably going to be the tallest, I think.
So how old are they now? 7. The twins are 7.
Twins are 7. Lottie's 6 next week.
Oh my God. Crazy. So Lottie's in year 1, and the girls are in year 2. That is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do feel like that jump from the foot, because obviously I've got the 2 girls, and I've got another Sienna who's 6, year 1, and then Sorella who's 3, and she's a September baby, so she doesn't start school until like next September.
Right.
But I feel like once they're all in school, it's kind of like, right, okay, I can breathe a bit now. So obviously you've recently had another. Was your fault? Because being completely honest, the thought of going to 3, let alone 4, would send me over the edge. Like, I think I'd have a mental breakdown. I know obviously with your 3, it was a bit different because you kind of had the 2 and then but like, did you always have a 4th in mind? Or it was just a thought, do you know what? I'm ready to go again.
I've always said that I wanted 4, but this was obviously before I even had children.
Right, okay.
And, you know, I was very naive to what actually being a mum is.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I was almost like, I don't understand why people only have 1. You know, why would I have more? Now I totally get it. Totally get it if you just want 1, you know? So I always had 4 in mind. And even when I was pregnant with Lottie, I was kind of like, well, if I have a 4th one, I'd rather just do it again now and, you know, do them all together. But I'm so glad I didn't.
Yeah.
And actually, after I had Lottie, I was like, right, put the coil in. Like, I'm not taking any risks this time.
Yeah.
But once they were all at school, I think I always had this part of me that's like, the number 4, and to just kind of experience having just one. I feel like it is, I don't know if it's just a blur for everyone, like the first couple of years and like newborn and stuff, but I just felt like it was even more of a blur with Lottie because, you know, Ben had like, I think he had like 10 days off after I had Lottie. And after that, like, it was just me all day, every day. He works 6 days a week. He works long hours.
Yeah.
Like, I did it all, and it was hard. It was really hard to have 3. Like, when I had Lottie, the twins were like just crawling. So it was honestly like 3.
So you had a newborn
babies,
and
2
crawlers.
Yeah.
That is.
Which again was actually probably easier that they weren't walking and they weren't on the move and they were a bit delayed because they would still nap loads.
I love how you used to see the positive in it. You
have to though. Don't you?
Otherwise you will go insane. Yeah. But, you know, you're right, because like I feel like you get to the point and you finally, like, I think it is that point when they do start school and you finally almost like caught up, and it's like, oh okay, that's done now. They're not babies anymore, and it's like, oh, like I've only just caught up on life almost. It's mad, isn't it?
I think it's a big thing as well to go back to the baby stage, go back to the nappies and potty training and weaning and all of that, because once you're out of that and you can kind of go anywhere with them and not have to really pack a lot of stuff, you know that you can get them anything when you're out, but when they're little you've got to remember so much stuff to take with them, like wherever you go.
So how did you find falling pregnant with Cruz then? What
happened, so I took my coil out, which wasn't to get pregnant. Ben had been saying anyway, I think, you know, you should have it out, like we would talk about like the hormone side of things and that, and I fell pregnant, which we weren't planning on, and Ben was a bit like, oh gosh, you know, but I feel like he'd just kind of got his head round it. We hadn't really even told anyone, and I miscarried.
Oh my God.
And that really affected me way more than I ever thought that it would.
Yeah.
And I felt like ever since then I just like longed for this other baby, and I would think all the time like, God, I wonder how old they would be now, and like, you know, just had these constant thoughts. Ben was kind of like, we're settled, you know, we've got 3 healthy children, like, you know, do we need to add? But I was just kind of like, you know how you're saying, like, for you even thinking about going to 3, I do think once you're at 3 is crazy anyway, that one more is not. I think the jump from 2 to 3 is probably the scary for most people. But I feel like once you're at 3, you might, like, I'd always have my nieces or like anyone over, because I'm like, well, I'm making 3 lunches, what's one more? It's already chaotic with 3.
True.
You're already like outnumbered, like really
might
outnumbered,
as well just add
so
to the
what's
chaos.
one more? So he took a bit more like convincing, and he would like think of these certain scenarios where like, well, what are you going to do with a baby if we're, but I'm like, oh, it's like one day a year that we go do that, or
So I'm so sorry that you went through that, and I suppose, like you said, it's strange, isn't it, that you had the 2 pregnancies, and then you don't ever think that would happen, because you've never. But it just goes to show, doesn't it, you can't plan. You can never plan like what's going to happen, true. And so, but then you did go again. Did Ben know that you were trying again?
He did know. He did know. I think you were probably hoping that it was going to take a long time again. No, it happened quite quickly, and then,
and then you had a boy. I feel like, do you know what? I remember when you put it on your Instagram, and I actually remember you saying about how you did an early,
like the blood
early
test.
gender thing, and you were like, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to say. And I remember, I think I even missed you, and I said, oh, it's a boy, and I think. It's weird, isn't it? It's like, like for me, in an ideal world, it's like, oh, if I went 3rd time, you know, it'd be nice to have a boy. But you can never. I feel like in your head, did you always think, I'm always going to be a girl mum? I'm always going to be a girl.
And I do love having girls. So as much as I think people try and say, oh, you obviously really wanted a boy or whatever, like, I thought the thought of having a boy would be nice. For, like, the last one, experience having a son, and then I'll have like the 3 girls really close in age, and then him. Because otherwise I was, you know, you think of these things in your head, which it really doesn't matter, but I was like, oh, will the one sister feel left out, that she's then 5 years younger than the other 3?
Yeah, you do think about it,
But I was also like, you know, I love girl shopping, and you know, and my girls are really quite girly as well, which I love. So I was like, I'd be more than happy to have another girl, but it would also be nice to experience having a boy. So I feel really lucky that I've got him.
And then I bet Ben was happy you went again.
Yeah.
He's got his little footballer.
Yeah.
So how do you find, like, I mean, I think a lot of mums probably follow you as well on your Instagram. You know, you are a mum of 4, plus you have a baby. And they probably look at you for inspiration because, you know, what I like about your page is that you do still keep it real. You do still show the times where you're like, oh my God, I'm literally like, or, you know, times where you are struggling, you will share that time. But equally, like, you know, you do make it look quite easy. But now I'm sat here talking with you, I think your mindset is quite positive. So it's like, because I do find that with having the girl, like my kids, my husband, he gets stressy. He's like, and I feel like if you're just chill, it's like, just chill. And you don't overthink it. And it's like your mindset. If you're like, yeah, it's great. Or you want to, can I go there? Yeah, I'll go there with the kids. Like, it's fine. Like, it is what it is. If it's mayhem, I'll just leave.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe that's kind of where you make it look quite effortless, really. Is it like, how do you find juggling it all? Plus the Instagram, plus the work and everything else that you're doing.
I mean, I definitely do have my moments of my like little mini breakdowns.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I do try and stay positive about everything and just like practice gratitude, really. I feel like I do that like without even thinking about it, and just try not to stress over things that don't need to be stressed about. I always like to celebrate the small wins.
That's nice. Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think people all the time will say, "Oh, how do you do it?" I'm like, "But you just do." Like if you was put in that, you just do it, sink or swim. You either get on with it. Like, I don't ever have any help. There are not the little fairies that will come and help me. Or anything. Like, I mean, I do have a cleaner. I have a cleaner once a week. She obviously is amazing. Will come clean the house once a week.
But that's not your, you know, I think with the children, like, number one, you and your husband work hard so that you can have a cleaner. But number two, like, that's a minor thing. Like, the actual help that we need really as a mum, I mean, it does help, but is, you know, being hands on deck with the kids. And I suppose you might be like me, like, I'm lucky I've got quite a good support unit with like my mum or like, you know, sisters or, you know, just family. So if you and Ben wanted to go out, you have the option. But I think also it is about like, just, it is a mental thing. I think people are different mentally. Like, I'm quite like you in the sense that I just want to do everything, but then I also want to be a mum. So then like I'm just like my own worst enemy. Yeah.
And then I get really overwhelmed. I do think I have ADHD. I say this all the time.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. I think I probably do. And I get very overwhelmed. But I'm also a complete control freak. Like, there's kind of no like nothing that can kind of solve how I'm feeling when I am overwhelmed, because I still want to do it all. Myself.
So you're doing, you know, you do your Instagram work, you've got, you know, mum life, obviously you're full time with a baby. So I suppose, like, what would your advice be to mums that are trying to juggle it all? Is it just keeping calm? Like, what's your main thing that keeps you kind of, you know, so that you can kind of do it all?
I'm not even like an organised person, so I can't even say that. I do get up quite early.
Okay.
But I would say that mindset is such a big thing of it. And if you start your day like feeling stressed, like I'll have like a bad day. Like the weekend I had, the twins wanted 2 of their friends from school round, so I had them. Ben was at work. I was looking after Rachel. I was looking after her dogs. I had a full house. I had 6 kids, the dog. I was trying to do all of this stuff, And they were getting so much stuff out.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, that one they're making slime, then they're doing this, they're doing that. And
Oh,
I was
no.
trying to set up this lazy spa in the garden for them that I said I was going to do. Then make lunch. Now it's a snack, and now I need to do the nappy. And now the dog's pooed. I need to go pick that up before someone treads in that.
It's
and
like
everything.
it's like a tornado, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you're just...
And I kept being like, don't get mad at them. Like, they're not even doing anything wrong. They're just being kids. They're just playing. They've got their friends around. Yeah, they're showing off a bit because their friends around. Like, what am I actually getting stressed about? It's not worth getting stressed out, and I'll sort it out later, and I'll go to bed and like just let them have fun, and it is what it is.
I think that as well. And I know a lot of people do say it, but it is so true when they say, like, actually being a mum, if you just shut out the outside noise and you just focus on being a mum, that's actually the easy part.
100%.
But it's the also having, you know, the stressing about tidying up or keeping the house tidy or keeping it clean, or, you know, wife duties, and
have you got the food shopping in?
All of that comes with it. If we didn't have all of that as well, plus the fact that we want to do 100 other more things, because, you know, we're wired like that. But it's like, if you put all of that away, just being the mum is actually like, okay.
I say this all the time to Ben, like when it's like the school holidays, you know, we'll start off and I'll be like loving it, like I love these slow mornings and we're going to do this stuff, but you know, like a week or so in, I'm like, I need a day where I can just catch up on stuff, because I was like, if all I had to do, like if Ben takes the kids out, all he does is take them out. He's not getting anything ready to get them ready, get the bags ready, nothing. When he comes back, all the bags will just be dumped, you know, like I'm then sorting that out, I'm replenishing what needs, you know, all of these things. I was like, if that's all I had to do, it would be fine, but it's not.
But this is the thing, like, being a mum isn't just looking after the kids.
No.
It's that plus everything else that comes with it. And obviously, like, being a wife and everything else, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So you've got your Instagram. Have you got anything that you've been excited, like anything coming up, any plans this year with it, that you've got any exciting things coming up basically that
I'm going on a brand trip next week, and I don't think I was trying to think, like, have I actually been abroad with a brand, and I don't think I have. I feel like I'm a little bit uneasy about it, because I was a bit like, oh, shall I go, shall I not? It's in half term, so I'm going to be away for 2 nights, so I had to say to Ben, like, you're actually for once going to have to
hold down the fort,
days off in the holidays and look after the kids, and I was a bit like, oh, shall I go, shall I not? But I thought, no, go, like, you've been invited, you never know. So I think, and I'm always like, you never know who you might meet, what might come from any opportunity, you never know. So I've got that. I recently had an edit with Glamify Fashion, and we've got some more in the pipeline across the year. So
love Glamify.
Me too. So that's exciting. Lots of things coming in, and brands that have been on my like dream list, and it's like happening now.
Amazing.
So it's really exciting.
The thing is, I think from a like influencer side of things, like I have my Instagram, but I do like my other bits and bobs like alongside it. So like my Instagram for me isn't like my main thing. I work with brands now and again, but I feel like it is like, you know, there's so much with it. Like if I like looking at you, it's like you really do work hard. Like that being just on Instagram is such hard. Like people think, oh, it's so easy, you know, this, that, and other. It is hard work. Like I can tell that you are a grafter. Like the things that you're doing, plus you're running your household and you're doing the kids and everything else. Like it is inspirational, and you should feel really proud of yourself that you're doing that.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of mums can, for me personally, what I want to motivate mums in doing is knowing, like I always say, like if you want to do something, don't just hold back because you are a mum. In fact, like use that as a reason to want to do it more, because okay, it might prove a bit more difficult because you've got to get the kids covered, or maybe you have to bring them along with you. You know, you've got cruise with you today, but you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. And like, I think mums are actually the hardest working people I know, because number one, we want it more because we want something for ourselves. Yeah. And number two, you know, we've got more to prove. Yeah. I feel like, so that's amazing. I think that is just so that's what you'll keep doing now, and have you got any holidays planned for the year, or
we are going away?
Have you been away already?
We went away in February.
Yeah,
we're quite last minute with everything in life, to be honest.
I am as well, though. Yeah.
I think that got booked like 2 weeks before. But in my head, I was like, I know we're going away.
Yeah.
And people keep asking, have you booked it yet?
And
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. But I'm not really a worrier. I'm like, it will happen.
Yeah.
It'll all just work out.
I prefer last minute because sometimes I change my mind, because I hate committing. Do you know, like, even like these events and stuff, like we get invited to and stuff, like, sometimes I think this is just that I get bad anxiety, but like I just, in holidays, events, everything, I hate committing to it, because then I'm like, maybe I actually don't want to go there now, like before, or something like that. But yeah, I'm the same as you. So that's nice though. So you're going to go away.
So we're going to go in the summer, which we booked like a couple of weeks ago. So this is actually quite organised for us. And actually, I quite like now knowing that I've got something booked in, and it is booked.
Especially over summer holidays.
Yeah. I said to Ben, right, this year, I am not doing that 6 weeks on my own. This will be my third 6 weeks holiday.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because before they started school, I had them every day.
I know.
But I think once they then do go to school, and then it's the holidays, you're like, whoa. And just obviously the older, this is what it is. People used to say to all the time, how did you manage lockdown with 3 little ones? And because Ben still went to work in lockdown because he works in cars, and that was deemed as whatever, you'd stay open. I can't remember what it was called. And I was like, but they were young. They napped. They would just sit and play. I wouldn't have been able to do it at like the school ages where they want constant entertaining and then constant like, want to go somewhere, want to do something, we're bored, we want to go.
Like I always say, like, I had that because obviously Sienna's the same age as your Lottie.
Lottie turned 1 in lockdown, and the twins were 2.
Imagine having to homeschool.
Yeah, that would have been way harder. No, like shout out to the parents who had to do that. Yeah. Mine still napped like for like a good 2 hours every day that I could sunbathe, and that I miss the naps because that break in the middle of the day where you just recharge yourself.
You need
where
it.
you have something to eat, you have chill, and now I'm ready for my afternoon session. Like that's
how
I used to see it. It's like my little that was my job.
Yeah. Where are you off to in the summer then?
We're going to Tenerife, which wasn't actually that bothered about going back to Tenerife. We went to Tenerife in February, but I had seen, this is why I love Instagram, because I get to see where people go on holiday and you're like, oh, that looks nice. Yeah. Someone that I follow had been to this the hotel looked lovely, and I actually, how sad is, I zoomed in on the towels so I could see the name of the hotel.
I love that.
And I looked it up and I thought, oh, this looks perfect, because we really struggle with finding hotels that have rooms that are big enough for us all.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I don't really want to pay for 2 rooms when we don't need it, and I also don't want to be separate. Like, I can imagine being like, who's going to stay in mummy's room tonight? Who's going to stay in daddy's? Like, when they're like teenagers, and they can sort of be in their room, whatever. Yeah. So I always struggle with that. So I'd seen that they do these, it's basically like a 2-bedroom apartment, and it's got its own swimming pool.
Perfect.
But you're on a hotel complex.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, Ben, before cruise is walking and stuff, then we probably wouldn't want a room that's got a pool, because like the safety aspect of that. I was like, but the age that the girls are at now, when they wake up, they just want to go swimming. I was like, I feel like he can still nap in the room, we can chill. So that's kind of why we booked the hotel, not necessarily wanting to go back to Tenerife, but we've got that.
But it doesn't. Do you know what I feel like? I don't really like. I think as you get older, you've been. I don't know about you guys, but I've been to so many places now. I'm happy to go back if it's ease. It's nice weather, good food, nice cocktails or wine, whatever. I don't care where it is in the world. I really couldn't care less. I just want those things, and it's easy with the kids.
100%. It's all about the kids, because if they're entertained,
if they're happy,
then you can actually
enjoy your holiday,
like chill. Like people said, would you not want to go here? They're like, I want to go to all these places, but at the age they're at the minute, they could not care less where they are. We could be in Butlins. All they want is a swimming pool 100%. And the sun. If it's not sunny, then they won't go in the pool, and then they're bored. So I just need it to be guaranteed to be hot. They will then just go in the pool, and they could not care less. I could take them to the Maldives or whatever, but it would just be wasted.
I always say
it
this.
It would be so wasted. They would not care about any of the culture or anything there. It would just be a beach to them and a swimming pool.
And it's a bloody long flight.
So much money. I would rather do it, I think, when they're a bit older.
Yeah, I'm so on the same page as you. I feel like I could talk to you for hours on
I
end,
know.
but I need to start wrapping it up. But honestly, I do, like I said, like, I think you are really inspirational for mums, even if it's, you know, starting off just any mums. And I think that the thing with your page, if you're not already following, it's at Chloe
_ Lauren _ XX.
XX. Love that. If you need a bit of inspiration, just a mama that does it all, really, then give her a follow. But thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I've loved it.
Thank you.